When I started, I came from a place where I got really tired of the people that I was working with saying, oh, empathy, you're too sensitive.
Mm.
That's just fluffy. And the irony, of course, is that what do people want at work? They want leaders who are empathetic. They
Mm.
want to go to work. They want to be human beings. They want to be recognized for those things that are important to them
Mm.
and their human needs. And so, one of the things that I did through school, and one of the things that I've had the privilege of continuing to learn every day, is just how many people really just want to be understood.
Mm.
We are human beings, and wherever we are in the world, we have our cultural differences, but then we have the same human
Yep.
needs and psychological needs wherever we are.
Mm.
We need our social support. We want to belong. We want to contribute. We want to make a difference. We want to be heard.
Mm. Yep. And at the end, when we talk to so many people around the world, right, as human nature, we want to be happy also. So each of
Right.
us, if we can bring our heart to work, and then we can create the environment that make people to excel, be happy. So when they come home, they be happy at home. They can have a good conversation at the dining tables, and it make the next
Absolutely.
generations be happy, be hopeful, enjoyable to go into the to be ready and go into the new workforce, the to work, right? So people who leading the change like you are, we really admire that, Deborah.
Well, you're definitely flattering me more than I deserve.
And
I, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, go ahead.
um, yeah, I understand what you mean, and it's such an interesting point because I think we want to be happy, but happiness is a very subjective description, right?
Mm.
It's really hard to nail it down. And when we try to figure out, well, what makes us happy, and we start describing it, we realize part of it is we want to be doing something meaningful.
Mm.
We want to be doing something that is aligned with our personal values, what we consider to be important. The research has shown that when we do something for somebody else, we get that warm glow of satisfaction as well.
Yep.
And when the work that we do contributes to others and we can see that, that becomes our own internal motivation to keep going. So there's ways we may not feel happy, happy, happy all the time, right? But we feel that we're contributing, that adds to the positive meaning in each of our lives. And
Mm.
I think what you mentioned about the family is so true because here, I don't know what the situation is in Vietnam. In the United States, there's a lot of toxic work environments. A lot of people have been dealing with bullying over the years and a very competitive, individualistic culture. You know, get him before he gets you, and beat this one out and beat that one out. And all you're doing is knocking people down.
Mm.
You're not working together. And so, to my mind, if we have a better day at work and we're not fighting with everybody at work, but we're talking and we're communicating and we're accomplishing something, that has a ripple effect on
Mm.
our families, 100%.
Yep.
You come home and you feel you have done something good. It doesn't mean there isn't stress. It doesn't mean aren't deadlines and bills to pay and families to take care of. But you in your heart know that you have done something that you yourself can be proud of. And especially with our families and our children, I think that's part of the legacy that we build
Yep.
for this world.
Hmm.
We want them to have that opportunity when we pass to understand why we had the values we did, why we did the things that we did, and what we hope to give over to them
Mm.
as they create their world and their family.
Absolutely. And I think that there's no difference between the management, the workplace between the US, Europe, or Asia. The same. There's
Um,
different kind of leaders everywhere, right? And we've been leading and managing people with the old philosophy of management, old method of leadership, right? So the world has been
yeah,
changing so fast, and we need to equip ourselves with the new knowledge and everything in order for us to effectively leading the people and leaving
yes,
the legacy, the right kind of legacy, not
I
just the
agree with
number.
you.
So that's why we want to use this program as a way to share the best practice, to bring the knowledge and the updated and like trends, so that the managers, leaders, and who want to be contribute something better for the world to reflect, to think, and to pick something that they can apply at home and at works to create better things under their management. That's what we want to.
Hopefully, hopefully. And look, and you have to look at our young people around the world, right?
Yep.
We have the most diverse generation in the workplace. We have people who've said, I need to make the world better. And whether it is a form of social responsibility relating to the climate or education or healthcare or mental health care, everybody who is going to work and is entering the field of work
Mm.
wants to be sure that they're associated with improving the world.
Yep. Yep. So thanks a lot for joining our show, Debra. And in our culture, it's very respectful for our audience, but very honored for our audience if we can have you to help introduce a little bit about who you are and the works that you do. Would you do that for us,
Okay.
please?
I would be happy to. So I am an organizational psychologist, and what that means is basically human behavior in the workplace.
Mm.
And we understand from years and years and years of research, and research is always evolving, but how people respond best in the workplace. What do people need out of their job to feel engaged, to feel motivated, to feel like collaborating and speaking? And one of the things that we all learned from the pandemic is that people needed to have a way to speak to each other.
Mm.
They needed that social connection. And we also learned that if we do it right, we can do it online.
Mm.
Because our world is bigger. And I think one of the wonderful lessons out of the pandemic is that we may have been in our homes, but people couldn't keep us from caring,
Mm.
right?
Right.
And suddenly I'm connecting with you around the world, and I've been invited to watch webinars in Australia, and I've connected to people in Canada, which is not that far, but I'm thinking of, around the world, the
Mm.
connections that we've been able to make. We've really gone out of our comfort zone and looked at the world as much more accessible, because now we're inviting the world into our home.
Mm. Yep. Absolutely.
And yeah, and I think that that's been a wonderful opportunity. I think we've come to really understand why our families are so important to us. I think one of the things that we learned at home was just how important it was to care for those who were unwell.
Yeah.
And as a result, people want that at work.
Mm.
They want that kind of care and compassion and well-being to be part of their day. And the Surgeon General in the United States actually just came out with a framework for supporting mental health in the workplace. And the things that it includes are things like belonging,
Mm.
mattering. Do I matter to somebody at work? If I never came into work again, would anybody notice? Are we just numbers, or are we human beings, right? And I think people have really made the point they need to be treated like people, not like numbers.
Yep.
They don't want to just be punching it in. And you know, there's a lot of people, I guess, that I've had that experience and others have had where you mentioned it before, that command and control, the old leadership. And it was like, do this. I don't care what you think. I really don't want to hear. It takes too long to talk to you, and let me know when it's finished. That's not healthy, right? That's not connecting to anybody. And mentally, if we don't have an outlet and we don't communicate, we can't possibly understand each other. And if the message I've gotten is, don't talk to me, I'm not available, figure it out on your own, why would I suddenly trust you? How could I possibly create commitment and loyalty to somebody I don't know? And that's what that kind of thinking has always said. You work for me, you owe me. And the employees have said, no, I'm a person. And if you can't see that I'm a person, not a robot, then we can't have a relationship. So we're really seeing that human element coming into the workforce, into what people are looking for. Our generation is not looking for gifts. They're looking for experiences, right? There was a time when it was all about, you know, the biggest this or the brightest that or the shiniest that, right? And one of the things from the pandemic we discovered was seeing something new, opening our mind, learning new things, getting to meet new people, having an opportunity for growth in the workplace. We don't want just a job. We want to be an active participant. And I think that whole attitude is what's driving businesses to build those relationships, because that will create that trust, that loyalty, and the commitment that organizations want.
And I think that the pandemic also help us to be united a lot more and make the Maslow hierarchy of needs, you know, like if we follow that one, right, it makes, I feel like the whole movement make us a lot more human, a lot more towards something beautiful and sustainable in the long terms. And Debra, we're gonna get back to this part in a later time, but let's travel time together. All right.
Okay.
We want to know the root cause, you know, the cause that make you change in your life and dedicating your life and your time to this work that you are doing. So when I was young, I wanted to become an astronaut and wearing the astronaut suit to jump in a different planet. And a part of that maybe because I'm a extreme introvert. I like to to be alone a lot of the time. So maybe in a different planet seems to be awesome for me. Life did not give me any chance to do that, Debra. So we want to know, when you were young, what was your dream about your future, though?
Oh gosh. Like every other person, we pick a job title that may have nothing to do with what it's really about, right? At one point I thought, I'm going to be a lawyer. Okay. Another point I thought, fashion design, that would be fun, but it really had nothing to do with anything. So I think probably one of the biggest influences was not the job title, but the way to be. And what I mean by that is both of my parents worked in the community.
Mm.
And my mom taught us, she said, you reach out first. You say hello. You give a smile.
Oh.
You're nervous, the other person's nervous. You give first. Give them a smile, say hello, welcome them, and you're going to see how happy it's going to make that person. And that was a lesson that I got from the time that I was 4, 5, 6, 7, because they were working in the community. And I also learned, because of the work they were doing in the community, what we do matters and people notice. And it's the same way in the workplace. When we are in a position where people are looking to us for an example, if we don't lead by positive example, it doesn't matter what else we do, because they'll remember the negative. Human beings have a negativity bias, and basically we tend to remember the negative before the positive. It's sad, but it's true. This is how our brains work. So the research has said that we actually need 3 positive experiences to sort of balance out that one negative experience. So I really took a lot of what I was taught to heart, and knew that how I behaved was not only a reflection on me, but it was a reflection on my parents and on my grandparents. And I felt a tremendous amount of responsibility for that, because I didn't want them to be disrespected.
Wow.
I was raised with as you can tell, with a very strong sense of family. And so I was aware from an early age that I didn't want to bring disrespect to my family.
Wow.
And I thought my parents and my grandparents were amazing, and the things that they did for others in the community were so helpful and so kind, and they were available whenever anybody needed them, and I wanted to be part of that. So I ended up volunteering. Actually, this is not a job, but I was volunteering while I was in high school, and I actually worked with the elderly in a community home. And I started school saying, okay, I'm going to major in psychology. And as I started school, I said, you know what? Probably I'm going to burn out. Maybe I should just switch to finance, do business, right? There's a whole generation, right? Do business. And so what's so funny to me is that all these years later, I really come back to the psychology. For 14 and a half years, I was running a charitable foundation, and I was meeting people who were coming for charity, for their organizations, the people that they represented, and those conversations, I had a chance to listen to people's deep emotion, why they were doing what they were doing, the people that they were trying to help, and what made them feel like helping. And I found all of that inspiring, truthfully. And I felt good hearing their story. They felt good that I was listening to their story. And I felt good that I was able to help the people that their organizations represented. So here I am, organizational psychology, empathy and research, fully into human behavior and psychology.
So Debra, Steve Jobs said that all the dots can make sense when it's connecting backward, right? So life always has its ways to bring the best out of you, and like regardless how you take the path in your life, eventually we take back to where you're good at, and your dream and whatever that you really that inspiring you, it will connect, and then it make the whole circle is beautiful for you. And uh, and you brought one thing is very very important, and which is the family core values, right? There's a lot of families these days that raise children without a not, like a right set of core values, or good set of core values. And it makes, kid grow up, wondering, and in life, and it's very challenging for them to find a purpose, find what's good for them. So I really really admire what your grandparents did, your parents, and what your parents transferred to you, because like your mom saying, give first and the take will come after, right? You don't expect the take, the taking part, but if you keep giving and giving, the taking will come back, and it will come back a lot more than you think that you're gonna receive. And that's very beautiful, that it teach you to, take care well for the people. And if we can all do that, imagine how beautiful the world could be, right? Yeah.
And it's a simple thing, right? Our fear of reaching out is so much bigger
Mm.
than, but if I say, "Hi, it is so nice to meet you. How are you?" And your face suddenly goes, "Wait, you talking to me? Like, is there somebody else here?" You know, "Yeah, you. How are you? It's so nice to see you." And all of a sudden, people stand up taller, don't they?
Yeah.
They feel that warmth within them. You can feel their own smile return yours because you see them.
Mm.
They exist. And all you had to do was give them a smile, say hello. I'm one of those people, my mother started first. My mother, my mother was a very, very outgoing person, and she would talk to anybody.
Mm.
And as a kid, I was like, "Oh my God, please don't do that. Please don't do that." We all go through our teenage years going, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." But later, I heard so many stories from people telling me how much it meant to them,
Mm.
that we cared, and that somebody asked questions, and that somebody wanted to know their history and about them.
Mm.
And I think all of that really speaks to where we are today.
Mm.
I think that the values, they can come from family. They might come from spirituality. They might come from mindfulness or a certain practice. It could come from music or philosophy. There's something in everybody's life that is stabilizing, right?
Mm.
And when we have that base, that grounding, we know that wherever we go, we can come back to it.
Yeah.
And that will always be that reflection of who we are.
Mm.
For me, like I said, it was family. And I was very fortunate. A lot of people don't necessarily, for example, know their grandparents. I have four, and the last two died a few years ago, but they were each 95.
Mm.
So I had that knowledge and that ability to discover my history, and that was something that I thought was a tremendous gift. That legacy,
Mm.
right? Because there's things we do all day. We're running to work, we're running to this, we're going to school, we're running our errands, but there's a whole person inside. And I know when we're running, my kids, when I was younger, they would say, "Oh, when I grow up, I'm not going to do what you're doing.
Mm.
I'm going to be happy and I'm going to do whatever I want." But, until we're all financially independent, we do have to go to work, and we do have to pay the bills and do things that aren't so fun,
Mm.
right? But I think finding something in what you do that lights you up
Mm.
changes your whole attitude about what you have to do.
Yep.
Because realistically, not everything we do at work is exciting.
Yep.
It isn't. But if there's a piece at the end of the day that you can say, I can sleep well tonight because I did something really good, or I really helped somebody, or I was able to write something that will inspire others, that gives you the strength to and resilience, right?
Yep.
To deal with those other times that are so difficult.
And the beautiful thing on that is, Debra, we can always choose that option, right? Like my mom told me, the when I was very young, just like your mom, I think that I really admire the generation, the early generations, when they can teach people through a lot of resilience in their life, a lot of wisdom that they accumulate, but they don't say that a lot. It's us to come to them and ask them for advices instead of, like, because I feel like they've been there, they done that, they went through a lot of up and downs in their life, right? And there's a lot of lesson, great experience they can share to us. My mom told me when I was young also that we can always choose what we want to do. So and at a young age, I didn't believe that. I didn't even know what she means by that. So she told me this, the just for today concept. That's what she said to me. So just for today, I'm gonna give somebody a good attention. Just for today, I'm gonna write something nice to a friend. Just for today, I'm gonna do something. But she asked me when I was very, very young, every single day when I wake up, right, before I go to school, what is your just for today? Yeah. And by the end of the day, she asked me, okay, did you do that just for today thing? Show me what you did. And so I was like, I was really amazed of how that wisdom transfer and transform my life when I grow up, and I remember that, through
What
all
a beautiful,
yeah.
I'm a mom, so I can get teary-eyed because that's such a beautiful lesson. That's an amazing gift, because what she did was really, this whole concept is big, right? Caring for people and helping people, it's a big thing. But what she did is she made it small.
Yeah.
You can do this just for today. Don't worry about it tomorrow. How am I going to do everything? And how am I going to become, highly educated? Or how will I be a success? Or how will I pay for my family? Or how will I grow up and buy a home and do it? All of that stuff keeps your head spinning. But she did that in the way that she gave it to you in this beautiful little parcel.
Yeah.
Just for the day. It's not stressful. There's nothing to worry about. Just for today.
Yeah, just
see
for
what,
today.
See what makes you smile. What a great, I love that. I'm probably blushing, but I love that. Because it's such a beautiful story. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, thanks, Debra.
Lesson.
Yeah. So now that we need to get back to when I say that we're gonna go back to the empathy part, right?
Sure. Whatever you'd like.
When life connected all the dots back, and you get back to where you really, really love to do, which is organizational psychologist, right? You could focus to anything, any topic about human behavior, about organizational behavior and stuff like that. Why did you choose empathy and research on that, and Debra?
Because I had worked with people who were kind of toxic. I worked with people that, some of them, I'm not saying everybody, but there were definitely some people who were very much that command and control. I'm going to tell you how to think. I'm going to tell you how to feel. Don't show me your emotions. I don't care what your opinion is. Just do it. And I used to call that the Nike School of Management, because it takes about 3 seconds to say, just do it. Awesome. Does that teach you anything? No. Does that help you to grow? No. So that was my Nike. human being that way. Nobody builds a relationship that way. How do you feel good about yourself when somebody says, don't speak, don't talk, don't do this, right? When you do that to a child, they shrink, right? They turn into themselves. They're afraid to speak up. But the same reaction happens in the workplace. When don't let people feel safe to speak up, to ask questions, to give an opinion, we block that creativity. We block making a decision that takes more than only one viewpoint into consideration. You cannot create change if there's no diverse opinions and no diversity at all. So to me, I knew that people need to be treated kindly. I knew that part of empathy and emotional intelligence is being self-aware. How am I behaving and how am I treating others, but also paying attention to them. What's their need and what's their concern? And it's almost like we learned in childhood, right? Just for today, I'm going to sit and I'm going to say, how are you? No, I mean, how are you really? Not the old, how are you? And the person has walked away before you've said fine. Yep. You ever had that experience, right? How are you? And there's no, they don't, it doesn't matter. But how are you really? Well, this happened to me at work. Actually, somebody came to me and she said, Debbie, I don't want to give his name, but so-and-so's dad died suddenly, and nobody said anything. There was no email, there was no conversation, there was no consolation. And she came to me and she said, Debbie, your mom passed away. Maybe you could say something to him. And I know that that's a very, very personal topic. But at the same time, I wanted to do a good job because this person's brokenhearted. And I sent him an email and I said, I understand if you don't feel comfortable talking about this with me, but I want you to know how sorry I am for your loss. And I appreciate how close you were to your dad. And if you want to talk about it, I would really like to listen. And you can't push too far, right? But I was able to do that. I was able to just open that door, because there's a whole generation of people that went to work and were told, don't show your emotions, don't talk about it, don't. And you know what? They're hurt. They're hurt. They're angry. They're confused. They're frustrated. When you go to an environment day in and day out, you think there's a connection, right? Right? I see you and you see me, and I want to believe that I care about you and what's important to you. And when we have that same relationship, that's when teams support each other. That's when people in an office can work with each other instead of against each other. So I think that for me, I really saw how many people wanted the empathy and wanted the humanity and weren't getting it. So that became, I know it's hard to explain why, but that became how I wanted to focus on the research, because all those people who said emotion doesn't belong at work and be tough, don't be sensitive, and who cares? And I had somebody after 14 years who said to me, who's Danielle? I said, it's my daughter.
Wow.
after 14 years, I know your child's name, right? You think, okay, come on, we're in here all day, every day, right? At some point, if human beings connect, we know certain things. But when we're so compartmentalized, right? So for me, it was really important to show that research of why empathy is so important in the workplace, why it has so many positive outcomes, and all the things that people say they want. Employee experience, and they want more engaged workers, and they want workers to be motivated and to feel loyal and to feel trust. Those are all emotions.
Yep.
So if you discourage them in the workplace, you're not going to have them.
Yep.
So either you support them or you don't.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
And if you don't, they don't just show up magically.
Yep.
But they are very powerful when we open that door.
Wow.
So that was how I came to that.
Very beautiful. And you brought one thing up that that I want to share my story also. Like somebody you know for a long time, and and ask what's the name, and then you say your daughter's name, right? What's her name? Your daughter?
Danielle.
Danielle. Okay. So
Danielle. Yeah.
I work with my boss for a very, very long time. She's the one I love most, out of all the boss that I know out there. And once in a while, she asked me, how many children that you have? And I said, 3. And then she asked me again in another year and again in another year. By the third year, I told her, hey, her name is Tirarat. I love her a lot. So I said, Tirarat, because I love you, I'm going to need to say this to you. If you're not listening, you're not present with me, don't ask the question. You asked me this one 3 times already. So because of all the mentoring, all the coaching, all the love you have for me, I let it go. But what if somebody else out there that you ask them this very same kind of questions repeatedly and then you don't remember, then don't ask. Like it's a waste of people's time, right? So thanks for sharing that, because everything that we do, every experience we carry with us, and then if we want to create something positive for the people, we have to really really pay attention to the experience that we're gonna provide to them, they be receiving, which leave me this unanswered for a very long
Oh, I
time.
have 4 kids, by the way.
So one of them is international traveler, right? And then the 3 of them are not. So make them travel, Debra. I have this one. I want to ask you, because everything that we're teaching leaders and managers these days are not new. There's nothing new under the sun, right? We've been teaching, we've been learning, we've been told to be, and then companies was telling that people are their greatest assets for many, many years.
Yep.
But until the pandemic hits, recently, it seems like it's a slap on the face for many leaders, many managers, many organizations, because what been said in the past was really the cosmetic things, and it requires to really, 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 really change to what that important. So why did we forget and at the beginning all that philosophy in the business, that like people is the best assets we have to give them the great care, great attentions, everything. What happened to us?
I mean, your story is such a great example, because on the one hand, the manager thinks, I'm engaging, we're talking. But for you, I like you as a person, but by the way, the fact that you keep asking me tells me I'm not very important to you, or you're not listening to me, or whatever, reaction that we have to that could Now, you're a nice person. You spoke up and you were able to speak up, which is a big deal because not every employee gets to speak up. And you were very, very respectful and you got to say it. But that's the truth, right? If you never got to say anything, somebody would feel bad and they'd say, if I'm so unimportant, why am I here? Why don't I go somewhere where I will be valued and where I will be appreciated? That attitude is nothing new. The difference is, from the pandemic, millions and millions and millions of people said, I've had it. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. Life is short. If you don't appreciate me, and if you don't care about me and who I am, I'm leaving. And in the United States, for the last 18 months, 4 million plus people have left their jobs every single month for the last 18 months.
Wow.
And I often think, number one, who's taking their job that was so bad? Because I feel bad, right? You know that they're leaving an environment that's not good, and I keep thinking, what happens to those people who end up in their jobs? But we reached that breaking point. We literally reached that point where we saw our life and death flashing before our eyes. And we want to make a difference. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to contribute. And if you still don't know I have children, and if you 3 years in don't even know how many kids I have, we're not really communicating very well, are we? It's all superficial. And a lot of the people who have spoken to me don't like the superficial. They said, no, I need more. I need depth, right? I need a relationship where I can grow, that I can discuss, I can think about ideas, or we can combine ideas, because ultimately you have to be able to be creative, to be innovative, to come up with anything that works, whatever industry. You have to put people together. They have to open their minds, and they have to go below that surface and say, okay, what is it that the customer really needs? And what is it that our to take that deeper dive, you won't get there. And part of that deeper dive, and that's what we're looking for in the workplace, please talk to me. You're my manager. I will be respectful. I will support your ideas. I will do the things that you ask. You succeed. I succeed. We have goals, right? But part of that mission is that we need to communicate, not just on the surface, but really, or it's never going to be meaningful.
Wow. I've been invited to a lot of company, like initiatives for them to build, when they change, they want to build a new culture that create the belonging, create inclusion, diversity, and empathy, right? And
Yes,
Deborah,
yes.
the more I enjoy, I don't want to be play negative in here, but I want to share some feelings that I see is like, again, it's cosmetic that put onto
Sure.
a thing, right?
Okay.
And like you say, the people want the depth of
Yes.
the relationship, not just
I
like
think so.
show them, show big initiatives, that companies really care, changing the new
Yeah.
office so that it's beautiful, people can have a nice office, or gather people on the company trip, traveling and stuff like that. That only solve a short moment, and then people
Yes.
forget in about a week time. They will
Yep.
forget about it already. They get used to it. They don't remember it anymore. But the depth of a conversation, the depth of a relationship is where I know you and you know me, what I want. and what's my
Yeah,
dream and how you can help me to accomplish that kind of dream, right? I don't see it yet
absolutely.
in many organizations, regardless of the change, and that gonna be that gap still there, and they need a lot of works to be doing, right?
Absolutely.
So in your research, if leaders need to do a that create that depth of a relationship,
Hmm.
and if they want to build something change sustainably for a long term, what are the key things that they need to be focusing on and make change in their daily practice though?
I think one of it's simple things. We think it's simple. To some people, it's not simple at all. Listening,
Mm,
and not listening 20 people in a room, because when you have 20 people in a room, you typically have three people speaking
mm,
and everybody else on their phone or nodding off, right? And you mentioned earlier that you're an introvert,
yep.
and you're not the only one, right? Not everybody wants to stand up and say, my opinion, right? It really is very uncomfortable for people sometimes. So part of the effort that I think managers and leaders are going to have to make is making that time
Mm,
to speak to employees one-on-one. And then I think it's starting with a question that an employee can answer and the boss can't. And that is, how can I help you?
mm,
What could I do that would make you feel better
mm,
about the work that you do? What kind of resources that, if you had them,
mm,
would help you to do a better job or handle an issue faster, or would make it easier to get something resolved quicker?
mm,
Many times when we have a conversation, people in their heads are already thinking of what they want to say next, right?
yep.
And to actually sit and be prepared to listen with your full attention to somebody else is a big deal for people who've never been that self-aware or never been that reflective at a deeper level of emotion.
Mm,
That's a big change.
yep.
That's a big change. So I think one of the things that coaching and mentoring, and learning and development and leadership, everybody's saying this is not a buzzword. Empathy isn't the flavor of the month.
Mm,
This is real. And the only way you can build trust is by being trustworthy.
yep.
Right? If we can't have a conversation, or if we have a conversation, which I think is in confidentiality, right? Which is confidential, and you tell all these other people, not only am I embarrassed,
Mm,
I will never trust you again.
yeah.
So it really means thinking about how you behave and how you appear, but also considering, what does that person need from me?
Mm,
That's what emotional intelligence is. We try to fix the relationships that we have with ourselves, but what do we have the relationships with the people that we work with, and what are the relationships that we're creating with our clients or our customers?
mm,
That's, at the end of the day, what means the most. And like you said, when you ask people what they remember, the stories that you will hear are not about the trip. You'll hear, you know, my mom got sick and my boss really had my back and my boss said, go, go to the hospital, and spend that time with your family. And whatever the circumstances, unfortunately, medical emergencies happen every day, or a baby is born, right? And it's not, oh, okay, it happens every day. No, it's special. The person that you help, they never forget that.
Yep.
When they were feeling conflicted and juggling and emotional, the person that says, it's okay, I got your back, I'll help. That's the person that you never forget. And I know there are kindnesses that have happened to me in my life that I never forgot. The other person didn't remember, but I never forgot.
Yeah.
So we have that power, and it's not hard. You just have to make the time to sit and truly listen to somebody else with their best efforts at heart.
Yep. Wow. Thanks a lot for sharing that, Debra. And the good thing about this is we as human beings, right? We know our mistakes, and if we know, we can always find our solution. That's what I believe. And if there's an intention to fix, and I think that if we don't have that intention, we're gonna be out of the game very very soon. So people have to make that significant change in the way that they manage and lead. So so we will find a way to make it happen. All right. I have two last questions for you for today, Debra.
I'm sorry, I really do believe in empathy and emotion. I know I'm not the person who's giving you that list of build the teams and build the, but I believe that this is at the base of all of this.
And I also believe that one too. So I've been into a very, very low feelings in my career life, and then into the, into the very high feelings also. So I know what it feels, and how it feels when we're at the low point in our career, and who was there for me, who wasn't there for me, and the lessons that I learned from that to make sure that if we don't let the pupil let unattended and attended, we don't let the emotions feeling like ignore, because those are the things that make people remember about you and the works that you do, the type of manager or leaders that create an impact on them. And I know that a lot of people out there, a lot of good manager and leaders also have that kind of same feelings that they carry with them to work every single day. We just want that number to be increasing more and more, so that a lot more people going to work we have will be taken well care of, will be
Yes.
yeah. Okay, Deborah, I have two last questions for you for today. And my wife and I has been in a quest to help people to improve their ability to think, because we both believe that the ability to think for us these days is diminishing, it's not increasing. And every chance that we talk to somebody who their work involve a lot of thinking, like you are, we ask this question. So Deborah, how have you been helping yourself to expand your ability to think?
How have I been helping myself to extend my ability to think?
Expand.
Let me try and understand the question.
Yes, that is the right
I mean,
question.
because I think all the time. That's what. So that's I'm an overthinker, I guess. I'm a deep thinker. I'm a deep thinker, and that is something that I've learned about myself. And so when I work with somebody, I start observing their body language, their facial language. I can look at somebody and see a perfect example, a simple example, actually. There was somebody that I was talking to in one of those meetings I mentioned about charity, and I noticed that we were talking about a situation. His ears started to turn bright red, and then it spread around his face. And I said, it's okay. I believe you. You don't have to tell me if it's painful, but I'm listening if you want me to. The minute we open our eyes, you can start to see how people process shame, or joy or sadness or anger, when we give our whole focus to somebody else, we can learn how to interact better with them because we come to learn those things that they are comfortable with. And by the same token, have you ever spoken to somebody about a topic, and all of a sudden it was almost like a light came into their face, and you saw this big smile, and they're like, "Oh my God, you knew it was sincere." And just by paying attention to their eyes, to their face, to their hands, to their tone of voice, to the words that they use, you learn so much by giving your whole focus to somebody else. And I think in leadership, if you don't make that time and give it to each of the people you work with, you will never know what is important to them. You will never know what their strengths are. You will never know if there are things that they would like to do that they haven't gotten the chance to do. I spoke to somebody today. She is creating a new project. She went to the person she was working with and she said, "You know what? I'd really like to be able to set up this spreadsheet and the data and the demographics. And I know it's not what I normally do, but I'd enjoy." Now you have an employee who says, "This is what I like to do. This is what I could do. And can you let me do it?" How many people have somebody come to them at work and say, "Could I please do this? Could I please learn this? Could I please put in extra time for free so I can learn how to do that?" Right? Everybody's looking for that, right? We all want that. And when you sit as a manager or as a leader and you give each person their own individual time, because they could be embarrassed in front of other people, there could be a conflict, they don't want somebody to make fun of what's their dream, making that time, even if it's once a week or every other week, and giving that block of time to each of your employees is an absolute gift. And when you have that conversation, you will discover so much more about the people that work with you, that you will discover the talent that you never even knew existed among the people.
Absolutely. So pay attention, listen, and give them the full, like focus of their time, watching their body language.
Absolutely. There are people who like to just focus on their spreadsheets. This is more important. We understand business is business and you got your bottom line. So here's the bottom line. Your people want to belong. They want to matter. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want somebody to say, "What's your opinion?" Or, "What was your experience? Have you ever done this before? Well, when you were in this situation, how did you handle it? And how did that work out? Would you recommend doing that again? Or do you think because of your experience, there'd be a better way to do that?" That's tremendous information. And you only get it by literally making time and giving another person focus and listening to the answers.
Absolutely. And in our culture, it say that two heads are always better than one head, right? So, so if you invite people into the solutions, then you're gonna have a better solutions.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, I'm sure you heard that phrase also. We only get one mouth and two ears, right?
Yeah, I love that. So we know your path already. At 4 years old, your mom taught you a lot of good lessons that you didn't carry and transfer that. I'm gonna tell my kid about what your mom was saying, and I want them to embrace the practice of welcome the people, say hello to the people first, break the ice, invite them to the journey, right? That's very powerful if they want to become a person who cares, they have to show care first. That's a very wise lesson that your parents, your grandparents teach you, transfer to your life. And then we knew that you grow up and you want to be so many things, be a lawyer, want to be a fashion designer, just like everybody else, right? We didn't know what is that we're gonna be good at, and I want to be love at doing. So we have to experience in, one at a time, and you went to the finance, and eventually all the dots connected, you go back to the organizational, be the origin, be the psychologist, right? Love.
I know it's a lot to
Yeah.
say. When I tell people organizational psychology, they say, I don't know what that is. I said, it's human behavior at work. Well, why didn't you just say that to begin with? So, but it's psychology is how we think, how we feel, how we behave in response to our environment. And we spend more time at work than at home. And I love the story from your mom just for today, because what your mom and my mom taught us is that it's not about expectation. When we make a difference in this world is not when we say, what can the world give me? It's when we say, that's true giving.
Wow. And Debra, we get into the last questions, which is the future. A little bit. It's about the future, right? So
the future.
So is there
My
anything?
crystal ball is
Yeah. Is there anything that you are working on and that makes you exciting? You want to share with us so that we can celebrate with you in advance?
Oh gosh, I don't have a book or anything like that. It would be wonderful. There's a lot of wonderful people that you've spoken to, I know, who have books. Part of, well, I've set a few different goals up for myself. One of the things that I've tried to set up is creating articles on research with visualization, because some of the topics can in research can get a little top heavy, right? It can be very technical. And so one of the things that I've tried to do through Instagram and through LinkedIn is make some of this research accessible to anybody. And so that was a project that I started. And I mean, I feel good, number one, because people say, wow, thank you. Number two, you never know when you try to create something for somebody else, will they like it, will they not like it? And I've just gone into it to say, you know what, I'm really passionate about this, and I'm just going to share this knowledge with you. And so it sounds funny because influencers are millions and millions and millions, but I have some posted on LinkedIn that went to 1.5 million views. And it was like, I guess I do have something to say. I guess people do understand, because we never know unless we talk or communicate. This is how I feel. Does anybody else feel like this? And that's been a wonderful project, to get to find out that other people do a lot of deep thinking, but they want to be respected for that analysis, and for the fact that they're very loyal or that they're very respectful. And it's not just, oh, we think, but we're a whole person. And so that part has been very, very nice. The other thing is I'm constantly learning what I'm doing now, because I'd like to shift into more research analysis, where I get to go through the research and then create the summaries and provide that for organizations and for clients. I continue to take classes all the time, and I am taking data analytics right now, which is not my strong suit, but my attitude is, and I'm only sharing it if somebody else likes it, so it's not a big exciting party like a book, but I would say to anybody, learn as much as you can, keep learning whatever it is that you want to learn, whether The company wants you to learn it, whether somebody pays for your tuition, it doesn't matter. If you find something that excites you, that you want to learn, every day when you get up, you've got a reason to get up.
Wow.
Every day, I know I want to learn more. I want to learn more about the research. I want to learn more how to help other people. I want to learn how to consolidate lots and lots of words into things that normal people can understand, right? instead of education, right, that goes over a lot of people's heads, let's make it understandable. So if you find something to learn that is fascinating to you and interesting to you, you will have a reason to get up every single day.
Wow.
Because that's your purpose.
So beautiful.
Whether you make money from it or not.
So beautiful. I think, and then there's a very, very good closing statement that you gave, because a lot of us stop our learnings when we get a certain time. A lot of people in my country have the belief that once you finish your college, your learning ends. And I feel like, wow, it's a very short side of definition of learning, because we learn every day. We learn from anyone and everywhere.
Yes.
Every opportunity we had a chance to touch base, to be in that environment is an opportunity for us to learn and fine tune and find the best out of it. And that makes every day exciting. That makes every moment a moment of changing. And I really like the statement that you close in our conversation today, Debra. I really enjoy. Yes, please. Go ahead.
One last thing about the learning. No. Because I was thinking back to something we talked about with an experience, and the reality is, when we are in certain jobs, we do get shut down.
Yeah.
Right? We're told, don't do this, don't think this, we don't need you to participate, one of the things that I felt all along, because I continued to do this, was nobody can stop me from learning.
Yep.
You can say, I can't speak up, I can't do this, you cannot stop me from learning.
Yep.
That's me, that's my mind, and we can grow as people, even if people try to stop us and put us down.
Beautiful. Yep. Nobody can stop anyone from learning.
That's right.
the only person that stops us from learning is ourselves. So don't let us stopping us from that joyful journey of learning.
Exactly.
Debra, it's very wonderful for me to have this great conversation with you, and it's so I'm so thankful for you to spend your evening joining and sharing your amazing story with us. I would love to meet you in person one day, and I wish you all the best, all of the results that you need, all of the love and the support that you need to enjoy your learning journey, enjoy your ride, enjoy your doing the works that you love doing like this, and keep sharing more. Keep the more that you articulate that and share it in your ways, like the writings, the journey, the articles that you wrote, write more, so that you give people the access to learning. That's the way that you can create a better world your way. And thanks for doing that. Okay.
Wow, that was wonderful. That was lovely.
All right.
But you know what? I'm the same person with you now that I am in person.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something that's really important to me too, is we live our values. They're not just for work or after work or only with this person. We live our values, and not only do we bring that respect to our families, hopefully we lead by example for our children as well.
Yep. Then because your values had been found very solid,
Yes.
Since from the generation passed on already, so it's not gonna be easy to be shaken. So and please share that practice to more people, so that like we say earlier in the conversation, there's a lot of families growing up without good values, so they need
Yeah.
practices, they need to have lesson learned and lesson share, so that they can help them to build the good set of values for their family also, Deborah. Okay.
And know that they're still connected.
Yep. Alrighty, you have a wonderful
Lovely.
evening, and say hello to your
Too.
family for us. I hope
Thank you. Yes,
that
I will be going to bed shortly.
yeah.
It's night. I don't know what time it is there, but it's morning for you, right?
Yeah, it's morning for us, so I'm gonna carry
Okay.
out with with the last day of October and ready for my new month of November. So
Wow, incredible. Well, have a coffee with me in mind. I'll catch you up in the 12 hours with mine.
sure. Bye, Deborah.
Bye. Take care,
Bye.
night.
Take care.